Hello, 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 everybody. Hope you are all doing good today. It's Monday. It's a new week in the markets. And we're going to start off the show. We title the show with some age-old wisdom that I've been told for a very long time. I've heard it for a really long time. Some of the hardest things to do. Never short a dull market. Today is a primo example. We had a gap down. We rallied to the previous day's high, Friday's high. Sold off a little. It's looking like maybe things were going to get a little boring. Things were a little boring. And then out of nowhere, we get this huge ramp. Right here. Boom. Absolute ripper. And now it's dull again. Now we're just kind of chilling. Sitting around waiting for the next move. We talked last week, last Wednesday. We talked last Wednesday about the possibility for the grind higher to continue. And that's exactly what has happened here. I think shorts are getting caught completely off guard. And now we're looking for where are they going to capitulate? When is this going to happen? So I've got some ideas in mind. I'm sure you guys have some ideas in mind. Curious to know what you guys are thinking, what you guys are trading, what you're watching. What's up, Alex? What's up, M. Corvino? What's up, Chewy? Hope you guys are all doing good. Hope you guys had a good weekend. If there's anybody who's here right now who has never watched the show before, never come and hung out with us during the day, say hello. Would love to get to meet you. If we have any new TrendSpider users live with us today, would love to answer any questions that you have about the platform. That's really what I'm here for. I'm happy to do some charting, talk charts. Over the weekend, we released our weekly update, and I'll kind of show you. I don't know if any of you guys happen to check that out or read that, but we can go through kind of what I was seeing. We had our big breakout of this consolidation. This turned out to be accumulation. This area here, a lot of traders saw the distribution here and thought maybe we would get a repeat. Kind of like what happened up here back in February. We had a little bit of distribution. We took a leg lower. We came back and we distributed again and took another leg lower. Well, this time the same did not happen. This time the inverse happened, right? We ended up gaining. And so we were looking for areas higher that price might find some resistance. Now we've got the anchored VWAP from the all-time high. That's a clear place to consider, right? Well, we've gained that. We've got a 200 SMA. Lots of folks talking about the 200 SMA here on the SPY. We're getting right into it here shortly. I know I got a lot of stuff on my chart. I will chill this stuff out for you. So the 200 SMA is going to be a spot. I've also got the volume by price anchored from the highs. And the big thing that I was curious about here was where's the point of control, the POC. Point of control is at 445.84. There's more volume at 445.84 than anywhere else since the high. So that's going to be a spot. So I outlined this red box here. This is our area between the VWAP from the all-time high and the point of control from the all-time high. I think somewhere in here we might catch a little resistance. So we look at price action and we see, well, is there anywhere on price action that might interest us? And there does indeed happen to be an area. Remove this guy. I have a couple places where we've broken down and we've not come back to test. You guys know that I love price to come back to places that it hasn't come back to before. This is a spot right here, right? We broke down, never came back. A lot of us were watching these highs here from May 13th, April 22nd, April 28th. Thinking that maybe these would give us a little bit of respite from this upside move, give us maybe bring a pullback. But, you know, you got to be mindful of areas like this, though they are important, and they were important previously. We can look back and see on that initial move down off the highs. Where did we stop? We stopped right at this level. It's 428 or so. But this area has been tested a bunch. You know, they've come into it and failed, come into it and failed. Kind of like how here we tested this 414 area a bunch before we were able to make a move above it. Maybe we go sideways a little while here. Maybe we get hung up just under this 200-day moving average, but maybe we don't. Maybe we push right through it. If we do fail here, then we got to start looking for layers or levels lower. And how do we go about determining those? Well, I would imagine that a lot of folks are probably using their short-term moving averages, right? That would make a lot of sense. So let me throw up something here. Here's a 5, 20, 50, 100, 200 EMA. Your 5 obviously is an orange here, and so on. Looks like your 200 is the white one. Your 100 is the orange one. What else do we have? The 10, I believe. No, the 20. So the 20 would be your green. The 50 would be your red. If we get a pullback, maybe we come back into some of this stuff. And as you guys know, because I'm a price action guy, you know, it would make a lot of sense to come back into where we gained from, right? We moved away from this big area, this 414. Maybe we need to come back into it, test and see if it's going to hold. When we're going to do that, it's so hard to know, but it might be what we're looking for in the time to come. So we've got areas above that we're thinking about. We're thinking about 436. We're thinking about this 445.61. You know, maybe these areas are going to come eventually. We'll just have to keep an eye on it. We can go over to the Qs here. And we essentially get very similar things, don't we? You know, we're getting above those highs. Let me remove some of this stuff. You've got your 200 SMA right here. If we measure VWAP, or we measure our volume by price from the all-time highs, that POC aligns pretty nicely with that 200 SMA at 342. Maybe we catch a little bit of a downshift there. You know, you got to be watching all of the indices. We know that SPY's coming right into these previous highs, and we can see the Qs are very, very easily gaining them. So we have to assume the SPY is probably going to gain them as well. If we go to IWM, we see a very similar sort of scenario. I'm just going to remove all this stuff again. We're anchoring from the highs. What do we got? We got point of control and VWAP. I mean, IWM has been our leader. IWM was the strongest. The strongest of the three indices has been. What's up, Mike? What's up, Brandon? What's up, Francisco? Hope you guys are all well. Hector, how's it going? Thank you for being here, Hector. Coming right into that 200 SMA, gaining it, no problem. Gaining the VWAP, gaining the point of control. Gain those highs, kind of the same highs as where we were looking on SPY, where we were looking on the Qs, this area right here back at the end of April and early May. Gain them no problem. So now we're going up here. Now we're looking up here. We're looking up here, maybe even. So I don't know. What are you guys thinking? What's up, Britsu? Hope you're well. Mike, why? I don't know what you're saying here. It's been a long time since I took Spanish. I know you say win. You're saying win. When you fail to gain, you test the next untested move lower. When you fail to lose, you test the next untested move higher. Well, there you go. Everybody, Mike from Market Traders TV. If you're looking for some education on how to trade price action, Mike is your guy. Feel free to go hang out in his room at any time. He's there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The man doesn't sleep, I don't think. King USD, Chewy. What is the dollar doing? They were talking about this on JC's Spaces today. Yeah, I mean, you know, at least on UUP, it's getting stopped kind of about where you'd expect it for now. If we make a new high, then we'll see. But right now, we're just still making lower highs and still making lower lows. So, like Mike just said, you're looking for them to get above here. If this thing's going to go higher, we need to get above a previous high. And right now, they're kind of failing right where they should on it. Or it's pausing right where it should. Now, could it be a fill breakdown? Yeah, I mean, it could be for sure. Lower low. Whenever we see lower lows, I'm kind of always looking for divergence just to see if there's anything like that showing up. And so far, nothing yet. What's up, Madhukar? Hope you're doing well, sir. But yeah, we're definitely watching UUP. JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon told wealthy clients there's a chance the U.S. is heading into something worse than a recession. Interesting. When did he say this, Francisco? Glad to hear you well, Madhukar. I mean, the banks, we were talking about the banks last week. They got their move, hadn't they? Absolute ripper out of this kind of flat top area. Gain these highs. Now look like they're kind of trying to fill some gaps. We got a gap up here, 125. This would be a decent place for JPM to catch a little bit of a pause, maybe. What's up, Ren E? What's my opinion on trading options on Q and SPY? My thought is that those ETFs aren't their own entity. The chart is determined by the individual stocks. Therefore, TA on those is useless. I don't think TA on them is useless. There's different schools of thought about it. I have been learning over the past couple of months or so. I've been watching futures a lot. So I kind of pay attention to what's going on futures to help make my decisions. But I wouldn't say that you can't do TA on SPY or the Qs. I would not go that far. And my opinion on trading them is I would generally rather trade the SPY or the Qs than individual names more often than not. And that's simply because there's a lot more liquidity on them than individual names. With individual names, you run the risk of poor liquidity, right? So you run the risk of pretty wide spreads. Whereas on the Qs and SPY, oftentimes spreads are no more than a couple of pennies. So I think you'd be a bit more accurate with your entries on SPY and Qs if you're trading options. Just my thought. You know, if you go to something like Square or Zoom or, you know, one of these sorts of names, or BA or whatever, an individual name, in a lot of cases your spreads are going to be like 10, 15 bucks. And that can be kind of difficult for your fills. That can kind of be difficult just across the board. So you really got to be mindful of that if you're trading those individual names. I don't know. What does the house think? What do you guys all think about this question about TA on indices? I mean, I'm always watching the indices because they're gonna help me determine what individual names they're gonna do. Sometimes you can look at the indices and then look for individual names within the indices that normally you would expect to be moving with them that are kind of not moving with them, maybe are a little bit behind. Some Fridays ago, we were in a live stream and we noted that the Qs were jamming higher and Microsoft happened to be just lagging. Microsoft was just not catching a bid. And so we tried some longs Microsoft because the Qs were clearly strong. We figured that Microsoft would catch up, and it absolutely did. What's up, James? Hope you're doing good today. Yeah, so Mike is of the school that you should be watching futures to make your trades on the indices. You know? I think it's different strokes, different folks. I don't think there's necessarily a right or a wrong way. I think you just do what makes sense for you. Mike, I did not see the Michael Burry tweet. I heard that he sold everything. I saw something about him selling all of his stocks. Is that right? Is that what you're referring to? So he sold 100% of his stocks, but he was what positions was he in? Was he long? Was he short? I'm pretty sure he's been short certain names. Like he's been short some big names, right? Wasn't he short Apple? So Rennie, a fib level with an MA support. That's great, but it's not always going to work. Sometimes indicators don't work, you know, like you can't count on the same indicator to work the same way every time is the thing that's difficult. So you just kind of have to take it for what it is. You know, if you trade based off of XYZ indicators and you know that generally speaking, when XYZ stock bounces off of its, 20 SMA on XYZ time frame, you know that 80% of the time it works, then you take the trade because 80% of the time it works. And then 20% of the time you're going to get hit and the trade's not going to work. Now with that sort of stuff, not with a fib level, but when it comes to trading using indicators, you can absolutely backtest it. You know, you could see, excuse me. You could see how something works. You know? What else were you using? You said with a particular MA and support matching. So the support matching is kind of I'm not sure kind of how you're determining support matching, but there we go. Let me just do something real quick. Throw some stuff on here. I don't know. Is anybody interested in the backtester? Have you guys used it at all? Are you guys playing around with it? Are you testing your strategies that you're trading? Got it. Horizontal support. I'm pretty sure, Mike, he was short. He was short something that was surprising that he was short. I kind of want to say it was Apple, but maybe somebody here knows. Because I can't recall, but I'm almost certain he was short something. It's like, why are you short that? It's really strong. Maybe it was Tesla. Maybe he's been short Tesla. Was it Tesla, Joe? Yeah, okay. He had Apple puts too. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, shoot, what does that tell you? It was the only thing that he was short. He was short Apple. He was short Apple via puts. I swear he was short Tesla too. Because the man talks a lot of jivey about Tesla. He does not like the company, I don't think. Yeah, so one thing, Ren, what Britsu says here, he says, I think it helps when you trade only a handful of stocks and get really good at them. You start learning how they move. I feel very strongly about that idea. I would say, like, start if you're newer and you're trying to figure it out, start on like one name or two names and really learn how they move. Yeah, because different stocks move different ways. They really do. And it really varies. And you can't come in with an expectation that, oh, because Tesla's up, Apple's going to be down, or Apple's up, so Tesla should be down, or if Tesla's up, Apple should be up too. They trade very differently. I mean, Apple, you're like, what, 6% off of the all-time high here? Yeah, not even 5.23% off the all-time high. Zero Hedge just published an article about what? Yuri, you're saying he was short but gave up on it last year. Possible, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Mike, great point. Take them all for what they are. And my God, Apple is a monster. Is this the best stock in the stock market? Might be. Oh, got it, Joe. That he sold stocks. Yeah. That was what we were talking about. Yeah, so Ren, if you know your sweet spot, is on Tesla, then what I would be doing is I would be, if you have like a handful of moving averages that you're trying to utilize, I would be backtesting them all and seeing like, okay, how does this thing perform when it's above this, when it's above that, when it's above both of them, when it's above all three of them, when it touches this one, does it tend to bounce? That sort of thing, to look for like percentages that tend to work. So like, for example, I mean, it's just a very simple idea. And presumably you're using low time frames, right? You're talking about scalping options. So, maybe you're using like a 10-minute or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, we could just do this. Oops. So what I'm doing here, I'm just doing something very simple. This is less than indicator, exponential, moving average, right? So we're simply just getting in when price is above, we're getting out when price is below. I'm gonna look back like just past couple thousand candles because we're using 10-minute time frames. It's not gonna look back very far. All right, so very quickly, we know that over the past 3,000 candles, this is, what is this? 4 months worth of data. Maybe we look back. I mean, you could just look back as far as you want. But whatever the case, if we're using the 20 ENA here, right? Because you're just saying you're using a basket of moving averages. Test and see, how does it perform above the 20? Well, if you're just buying the break of the 20 and selling the break below the 20, you make 17%, 17.5% over the past 4 months, where you would have lost 5.7% if you just bought and held. But your win rate's pretty crappy, 27% win rate. So 40 tons of trades, but only about a third of them work. That's not so great. Maybe we try a different moving average and see if this helps us at all. So the 10. Interesting. The 10's terrible. That's not the one to use. Let's use like a 21. We just checked 20, so it probably won't be too much different from 21. And 21 works a little bit better than the 20. Still, the win rate's not so great. Anyway, you can play around with this. Some people trade the 34. And you can define it in all kinds of different ways. 34, 10%. Win rate's about the same. So then maybe you want to think about adding, like, I only want to get in this thing long if price is above multiple things, you know? Price close greater than indicator, exponential. You can see kind of where I'm going with this, hopefully. On the 135. Oh, so then you're even going smaller time frame. Yeah, so I don't know. That's kind of where my head would be at on it, to like try and discern which ones have the tendency to work the best. Well, see, there you go. Different opinion right there from Mike. Spent years of his life backtesting indicator strats, and he considers it all wasted. I don't know. Different strokes, different folks. Madukar, let's see. QQQ and SPY put volume is more than call volume today. Well, that probably just means they're going higher, right? What you need to see, if you want to be short, you got to see that reverse, I think. Oops. Let's see if there's anything going on. Just adding unusual options here, just to see what unusual options is saying. I'm gonna take this way down, just to maybe, yeah, beginning of next year. We're gonna go bigger plays. So everything close to in the money that's big orders is all calls. Huh. Now these are just unusual options. These are not every options contract that's come in. These are just big ones, big orders. 398 call expiring August 19th. Almost $1 million in premium. But only 5% of the open interest. Repeat hits on the 430 call for August 19th. It's the end of this week. So although Madukar, although there's been more put buying than call buying, the bigger money is definitely more positioned in the calls. So that's kind of interesting. Doesn't that then kind of suggest that retail is the one buying all the puts? And if that's true, then you have to assume we're going higher. You have to. Mike, ETH has been a monster. It led everything, didn't it? Well, we'll keep that up, just because people are probably watching it. I'm still sitting around waiting and hoping for a pullback on ETH back to 1250. It's kind of where my head's at on this thing. Hopefully we'll get it. We'll see. That would be a heck of a pullback from here, from 1900. I mean, we hit 2 Gs over the weekend. And, I mean, Mike, is this a failed new high? No. Well, I mean, maybe. I don't know. Maybe you could speak to this. Kind of looks like we gained it to me, even though we never held above it. On a small time frame, we certainly gained it, right? Here it is on a small time frame. So, Ren, talk us through my strategy. So I've learned a lot from Mike. And so I pay a lot of attention to levels. Big levels that we lost or big levels that we gained. When we make a move up and out, we look for pullbacks to where we move from. Yeah, that's true. You don't, do you, Mike? So you chart. Remind me what you chart, Mike. Do you chart BTC ETH? Like this? That's a weird looking chart. I don't know what these are. ETH BTC. Okay, so this is what I had. I don't know what this is. So, I mean, essentially, right? Kind of gained all this stuff, didn't you? The dominant pair equals the USD value and BTC USD. So, Ren, to answer your question, kind of what I'd be looking for is a move back to where we broke out of but haven't come back to test. So somewhere around here on this pair, 0.0747. You do have these highs here, kind of in here. It could front run that breakout. I guess if you look at the pair, I mean, we did kind of back test here. I wonder if this works. Interesting. I love anchored VWAPs. I always want to know where your average buyer is from like pivotal levels on the chart too. Not for any reason, not because I think that price is going to come back to that area, but I just want to know where price is in relation to it. Is price super extended from it? So I'm kind of always looking at that. I mean, I pay attention to where moving averages are, but I don't trade based off of them. It's kind of an interesting divergence on RSI here, though. On this pair, anyway. I mean, pretty gnarly divergence, actually. This high against this high versus this. So if I'm thinking about getting into trades, I'm oftentimes looking at RSI divergence. Or I'm looking for RSI divergence to help me determine if we're at or near bottom or at or near top as well. So Britsu, I think so. We've been trying to get a hold of that. Britsu, if you can Hit up James. Maybe James is here. James, if you're here, James Chambers, Britsu, I actually got hit up by the same person, and it's definitely not Dan. I think the best bet is to turn off your DMs to avoid the scams, because the scams are aplenty in Discord. I'm going back to Spy here real quick just to kind of see where we're at. Still just holding. Yeah, let me do something real quick. Let me hit up James while we're here, Britsu. Mikey's is clean. Let me holler at James real quick. Britsu, can you give me the user's name and there's like a user number? Can you hit me up with that? Hey, Mike, what's the name of the bot that you use? Spy going ham. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's just doing the thing that it does. The one you use is an identifier. What does that mean, Mike? Alt identifier. All right, so I just hit James up, mentioned alt identifier to him. Hopefully we can get that up and running. James is kind of taking the lead on our Discord. Britsu, thank you, sir. Looks like there was another guy banned earlier this morning, too. Mark, how's it going today, man? Thank you for being here. We do appreciate it very much. Any new users to the platform? Have any questions about the platform? Anything I can help with? Can't complain. Mark, that's great, man. I really can't complain either. I have to admit, I traded pretty poorly today. But sometimes you trade poorly, you know? You can never get your Zoom. What's up, James? Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. I'm well. I hope you are too. Jesse, you can never get your Zoom tight on a chart for some reason. When you say Zoom tight on a chart, what do you mean? Is it like you can't do that? What kind of mouse do you have? Do you have a mouse with a roller wheel? Like my view, you can't get it here. Okay, so a couple of different things that you can do. If you have a mouse with a roller wheel, Mac Magic. Okay, so it doesn't have a roller wheel. The Mac Magic mouse, is that it doesn't even have, it just has like one big button, right, Jesse? I'm pretty sure that's how it works. SPY coming into a potential area of interest here on a very, very small time frame. Yeah, so I guess without having the mouse, without holding the mouse in my hand, I used to have one of those big square ones that Mac makes. So you don't move it around, you just 2-finger scroll around. So logarithmic can definitely mess with the look of your charts for sure. What I would say, if you can't figure out how to zoom with like the roller wheel equivalent on your scroller, you can still scroll. Like, I think it's a 2-finger up and down scroll as long as your cursor is over the chart, but you can also grab the time frame or the time, axis, and you can click and drag it. It's not the most optimal way, but if you can't figure out how to do it with the scroll, you can click and drag the time axis and you can click and drag the price axis. And then you can click and drag the chart and move it around to kind of center it however you want. I have a PC here, so I'm using a roller wheel. So as long as your cursor's on the chart and you roller wheel scroll up and down, it's gonna zoom in and out for you. And there is a limit to how much it can zoom in. Like, I can't zoom in middle finger swipe that mouse in the center like a scroll wheel. There you go. It sticks and starts kicking you to the right when you try to keep zooming. Huh. It's like SPY's going for high of day here. Yeah, Jesse, so let's do this. First things first, down the bottom right-hand corner where it says contact us, this is a direct feed into our employee chat room. We have live people in chat Monday through Sunday, every single day. Monday through Friday, they're there about 20-ish hours a day. And then on the weekends, Dwayne, this fellow right here, he's there about 8 hours a day on the weekends. So these guys are always available to answer questions. Anytime you have any questions, do hit them up. This is James right here. This is the fellow that has kind of taken the lead on our Discord. This is Oleg, good friend from the Ukraine. Those guys are there to help you. So anytime you have questions, hit them up. And then as well, if you ever want to kind of dive deeper into any of the tools, of course, I'm here. So if you have questions about the platform, hit me up with them. But if you ever have questions and I'm not around, you can sign up for a one-on-one training session. You can do that by clicking on your name, top right corner, and then scroll down to where it says schedule training. It's going to be in between, I think, these two. I don't have the option because I'm an employee, so I can't schedule a training. I tend to give them. But you can sign up for one anytime you want. So please do feel free to do that. They're 45-minute long screen shares with one of our educators. So any questions that you have, please do feel free to sign up for that anytime you feel like you need to. Ha, I'm really beautiful. Thanks, Mike. That's very kind of you to say. Like a big old teddy bear. What are my feelings about us reaching the 40-week on SPY? The 40-week SMA? EMA? Which one? Let's see. I don't even know where the 40-week is. Whoa, well, we're here right now, aren't we? SMA. I mean, my thoughts on it is that's an arbitrary moving average. Is there a particular reason why it should be important? Outside of we're just here, there, now. I mean, you can pretty much like find a moving average all the time. Like price is always going to be touching a moving average somewhere, somehow. I don't know. I don't think I'd give it too much credence. And that doesn't mean that it won't react here. But if we go back and look, let's see. I mean, reacted a little bit. I mean, it reacts here from time to time for sure. Last couple times it's traded below it. We can look back here at October 2015. We gained it no problem. Here we gained it no problem. I mean, you know, we ultimately got rejected. This was during COVID, I suppose. Oh no, this wasn't during COVID. This was pre-COVID. But we still gained it. Like it wasn't like it was some perfect indicator. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have any feeling about it. Like you guys know me, I'm more looking for levels that should and could impact price. You know, today's level was kind of through in here, and you know, what's it gonna do? Probably gonna gain it. And I only say that, we went over this kind of at the beginning, but I only say that because IWM has kind of gained that same relative area, which would be right in here. Gained it no problem. And the Qs did as well, right in here. So that leads me to believe that SPY will too. So we look for places where it kind of failed, where it hasn't come back to. And on the Qs, and Mike can teach you guys this stuff a lot better than me. I'm still learning as well. But on the Qs, that puts us somewhere in here, right? Because we haven't come back to this to test it. So 337 up to 340. Might be kind of interesting on the Qs. Might get a little reaction there at some point. IWM, I mean, if you were to take it relatively speaking, IWM is essentially there at the top end of that Qs range, right? Because the same idea on IWM puts you in this area, right? And we're already ripping through it. And then SPY, that area is kind of through here. So SPY's got the most room. Yeah, IWM's absolutely leading, and it has more often than not over the past couple of months. It's been the top gainer many of the past weeks. Just percentage gain, you know, where it closed this week versus where it closed last week. If you just measure, IWM has been the strongest of the bunch more often than not. So I don't know. I mean, that's kind of where my head's at on it. Even though I'm not trading it, well, I see it. It's frustrating to see it and still not trade it well. But I'm sure you guys have all experienced that also. So I don't think that I'm alone in that. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of where my head's at. We'll see. Are there any big important numbers getting announced? Mike, I have not tried trading M2K. I've stuck to NQ and ES. I'm not afraid to try an RTY or M2K though. I'll definitely do it. I mean, earnings this week. We can look for earnings. I can scan for them. Let's actually do that. Earnings dates within. Oops. Actually, let's see if there's anything today. First of all, I don't think that. I think most of the big earnings are behind us. I'm thinking more like government important numbers. Yeah, there's lots of names reporting earnings today, but nothing that seems all that important to me. VRDN. Big mover. You know what I should do here? I'm gonna do something else. Let's do this. Earnings dates within the next 4 or 5 days. And I'm also gonna say greater than a constant value of $75. And daily volume greater than a constant value of 1 million. Let's see. That'll kind of weed out some of the noise. Whenever I run scans, I always want to weed out noise. Retail sales and Fed minutes. M2K is the same as MES in terms of point value, but it's 10 ticks per point versus 4. Oh, that's interesting. I don't know how I didn't know that. ADI this week. ADI looking pretty strong, but coming into an interesting area, 183.50 or so. You do have a lower high, so you might anticipate this to fail there. Let's see when those are. That's tomorrow, looks like. No, Wednesday on ADI. NTES has earnings on Wednesday. NetEase. ROST, Ross Stores. So this could benefit from Walmart's tomorrow. Ooh, interesting. This could benefit or not benefit from retail sales. I guess you did say retail mostly. So Ross, this would be a retail. Coming up into an important spot, that 93 level. Curious to know, where's the all-time high at? And where is it in relation? AMAT. Applied Materials. This one has earnings on Thursday. Let me run over to NYSE. Check what's up on NYSE. Alcoa, or no, Allegiant. Agilent Technologies. Hold on. Let's go back to Ross here. Yeah, Mike. Saying short the gap fill. Yeah, I was looking at this. Shoot. like 93. Just depends on what they do. I don't ever trade into earnings. I just let earnings happen and then see what happens after. Oh, okay. So you got Lowe's. You got SE is tomorrow. This could be interesting. This is a tech laggard. Has been definitely chilling. Could get moving here, though. On some decent earnings, couldn't it? What's up, David Yoakum? How you doing, brother? Hope you're good. Bill has earnings. Bill.com. I don't know what that is. Low. This is Lowe's. Low looking pretty darn strong into earnings. Coming right up in an anchor VWAP from all-time highs. Tricky spot to take along. Target. Trying to come up into that gap. Huge gap to fill. It'd be interesting to see. That might be kind of fun to play. Target. Let me see when those earnings are. Those are Wednesday on Target. And like you said, Walmart. Walmart is... Looks like it's on the 16th. Somebody said it was today or tomorrow? Walmart tomorrow. Always rised. So that'd be kind of interesting. I would imagine that if you get a big move on Walmart, you might see some... Target move along with it. Home Depot and Lowe's reporting this week. Home Depot today. Did they already report? No, not yet. So I guess they're after the bell. Let's go back to Target for Mr. Mike. What else? DE. We'll go back to DE. Say 145, Mike? What about right here? Somewhere in here. 156? If Home Depot and Lowe's have bad earnings, are we screwed? I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. What's a home builders? Anybody know a home builders ETF? What do home builders look like right now? Oh, Mike, are you talking about down here? I guess this isn't really tested, is it? It's like 150-ish. This is where I'd be looking, Mr. Mike. 155.7 or so. Oh, we're here. 153. Right, somewhere thereabouts. Well, here we go. Let's create an alert to let us know. I'm doing a little touch bounce alert. I'm going to give the sensitivity a little room to breathe, but I'm going to get that confirmation candle way down. Lowest time frame. TGT BUY. And multiple triggers. And donezo. So now I don't got to look at target no mo. I'm still going to put it on my watch list just so that it's there. Nail. Yeah, so this is home builders. Huh. That's kind of a tricky chart. Dang, this is some cruel market maker behavior. Scooping those little lows, undercutting them, and turning it right back. It's not very friendly. It's kind of a tricky chart. Yeah, fail to lose. FTL, fail to lose. So they failed to lose this low. Right, you got your low here. They tried to lose it, and they didn't. The thing... Is it this one right here? Mike, is this what you're referring to? That guy? Or are you referring to this guy? The thing that I still struggle with, and maybe Mike, you can answer this question. The thing that I still struggle with, like I see very clearly, they scooped to the low, they pulled a bunch of liquidity, and they turned it back. But we do technically have a close below, right? You close below it. It's a left swing. They close below it. So they did make a new low. So doesn't that then suggest that since they made a new low, even though they failed to lose it, they made a new low. So then shouldn't we still be looking lower? Or no? Oh, you're talking about this. This guy. Getting a lesson in price action here from Mr. Mike. Is this the candle you're referring to? This one? Swing to the left of the main low. This one. Yeah, so then if it's a fake out, maybe we're at a fake out spy here. Maybe we're going to get a fail to gain. Yeah, hard to explain. This guy or this guy. This one. Okay. It's a liquidity grab, right? But they still did close below it. This is what I have a problem with. Or not what I have a problem with, but I just have a difficult time kind of understanding. Because isn't the rule that if you close below it, then the expectation is you're going to go lower. But we didn't close. We did close below it, but then we gained it. But that would be the expectation. You would expect it to bounce. You would expect it to pull liquidity and then bounce. But now we've made the move. Well, maybe not all of the move. There's still stuff up here that's left. I mean, you come all the way back to, what is this? $111. That is trading at $40. Did make a new high. But it didn't like technically hold this low. It held a low, but it didn't. It closed below it on a weekly basis. So this is where I struggle, Mike. I'm gonna need you to help me understand. Yeah, so probably on a smaller time frame, you got one. If we go back, yeah, so it's right here. Yes, they ducked below it, they bounced, they came back and tested the previous high, and then they came and tested where they gained. Yeah, we don't have it set up yet, Mike, but we'll get you. We'll do it. We'll do it. We just got to get it set up. James, this is the next thing. If you're here, James, if you're watching, this is the next thing that we need. We need a voice channel so that we can get Mike on. And other traders, for that matter. But Mike, I'll drop by your channel here in like an hour and ask you about this and have you explain it to me. Because it really does. It kind of like, it kind of, I'm kind of not sure what to do. Like I know to expect a long on that breakdown. But you do have a failed new high. Right? On a daily here. You did not make a new high against this one. You failed it. So that sets the expectation for lower. So maybe we're about to fail here. Maybe we're doing the exact same thing right here that we did down here. I mean, I don't know. I would imagine, though, that Home Depot and Lowe's earnings will help make that decision, right? If Home Depot and Lowe's earnings are poor, then you might expect this to fail too. Would anybody else concur with that? Mike, would you concur with that? What's sort of interesting is that Fairway, fourth biggest mortgage company, I hear is seeing the most anemic time since early 2000s. Anemic. Mike's channel, Market Traders TV on Twitch. Market Traders TV on Twitch. Actually, here, hold on. I'll hook you guys up. Mike is one of our lovely guests on the live charting show from time to time. Let me grab that last video that we did with him. Here it is. Here you go, sir. So this is, we probably did this like, what, a month ago? A month and a half ago, Mike? Something like that? Mike is pure price action. He's looking at PA. He's looking at VWAP. And I don't think he's looking at anything else. Yeah, we need to get you back. I'll hit up Sadie and see where we're at on it, on the rotation. Oh, Bradley. So, Mike, what do you think? Do you think that's what this is doing here? Is it doing the same thing that it did down here, sucking liquidity? There are some levels lower that need to get tested, that could get tested. Mainly just this one. David Yoakum. NVDA. Yeah, James, if you got price action questions, I'm still kind of a noob. I'm still learning it. And I have a decent understanding of it, but there are things that trick me. But Mike is much more knowledgeable about the subject than I am. So NVDA, I believe, Mike, don't you have a long on NVDA? Let's see here. Let's see where this one is. NVDA earnings, August 22nd. Huh. For some reason, I thought they had already happened. I mean, it's certainly lagging its index, isn't it? I don't know, David. The fact that it's lagging Qs so much kind of is a little suspect to me. I mean, the Qs are already... Yeah, Mike's long from 140. Okay, that's what I thought. Qs are already... They've already made most of this move. Like, Qs are essentially like here. Or so. Relative to NVDA. I don't know, you kind of got to start getting like... Well, all right, so you held this low, right? What have we done? You've got a high, you've got a new high, and you held the low. So, I mean, my personal expectation is you'd probably keep going higher, but it looks like they're not sure what to do here. You know, they're not just like ripping right through this previous high. So I would watch and see what they do. If they're able to get up and over. There is some untested stuff. Mike, you're long NVDA from 140.63. Nice trade, man. That is a monster entry. I would be inclined to say that they have not come back into this yet. Like 160, 155 to 160. I don't know why they just, oh, Nightbot getting mad about caps. Always rise. I don't mind your caps. Nightbot, not so much. I would wait, like if you're not in NVDA yet. Yeah, right. If you're not in NVDA yet, I would wait because it doesn't seem like a place to take a long. If we go down to a smaller time frame and see if there's, I mean, you got a little gap down here at 171. They could always come back to it. You also have a gap here. At 157. Yeah, I would probably let it gain a new high, David, before touching it. I wouldn't go short because the Qs are strong, but I wouldn't go long either. Your stop is right at the August 8th low. Right here. Is it August 8th? Yeah. August 8th low. Right there. Yeah, I mean, potentially, David. Long-term target is all-time highs. I mean, you got to get, you're going to have trouble at 266. You're going to have trouble in here against those old highs. But on a long enough time frame, you're saying, David, just to confirm, you're saying something like this, if we break that? Is that how you're drawing it? I guess we could look and see what this does. How does it draw? Oh, it draws it from the highs. Huh. Something like this. Yeah, I mean, that jives right with your anchored VWAP. Maybe they have some blowout earnings. There is a little gap there. It could get congested in that 230 area for sure. In confluence with the AVWAP, right? And this little gap here too. You said it first. But yeah, I mean, over a long enough time frame, sure. Go higher. Why not? Made a higher low. Where's the monthly low at? Yeah, so this is what you were watching, I assume, Mike, right? Essentially that. That low that brought us all the way up. We come back, we held it almost to the penny. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, front ran it by what, like $1.50? Sure thing, David. So, all right, hold up. Let's see here. Let's look at Walmart first for Madhukar. Walmart's got earnings. So, I'm not going to make any sort of prediction about where Walmart's going to go cuz earnings can make or break things here. I mean, it is coming into an important spot, right? Like this area is clearly pretty important. Anchored VWAP from a high, we're probably right in it. Yep, it's there too. You gotta let this play out, in my opinion. I'm not gonna speculate on where Walmart's gonna go here, personally. No opinion. See what happens. I hate Walmart personally, so I don't know. But that's just like personal thing, you know, no good reason. Not because of the stock or anything like that. But yeah, Madhukar, I'm sorry, man. I'm not gonna make any guesses about where this is gonna go because I don't know how earnings are gonna play out. Is there a price action indicator? Price action indicator? No, so there's a daily pivot points indicator that I'm not really keen on using personally. I think the closest thing that we have to like the type of analysis that I'm currently doing, or that I'd kind of like to do the most, are these heat maps, these horizontal heat maps. They look for areas of price consolidation, meaning price making the same highs or the same lows over a period of candles. When they find those areas of consolidation, they plot them and they extend that heat map forward. So that heat map area can act as potential levels of support or resistance depending on where price is in relation to it, just because they represent areas where price had consolidated previously. This would be probably the closest thing to like something that's finding price action levels. Horizontal, like true horizontal levels. Not yet, right. As far as the fibs are concerned, we do have an auto fib. Auto fib's going to draw a fib sequence on the most recently completed move per your time frame. So, what does that mean exactly? Well, a couple of things. There's a couple of things that you got to know about both of these tools, the heat maps and the auto fibs. They're both what we call auto analysis tools. Auto analysis tools are built off of this thing that we call the truth and analysis timestamp. It's a fancy word for this line right here, this vertical line. Now on this chart, it's on the current candle, so it's drawing the fib sequence based on the most recently completed move per the time frame. And it's going to send the fibs in the opposite direction of the move, because that's how you'd want it to draw if you're drawing fibs. One thing to note, I'm going to go to a random name that I haven't looked at in a long time. I'm going to Costco here. Now, when I go to Costco, hold on. Let me go to a different time frame. Yeah, perfect. So notice how that truth line is now like on January 12th. Long time ago, it's measuring a fib sequence that makes no sense. Why is it measuring this fib sequence? It's because the truth line isn't updated. In order to update the truth line, it's a manual process. You just click on the refresh button right here. So if you click on the refresh button, it moves the truth line to the current candle, and it's going to update all of your auto analysis tools, your fibs, your trends, your heat maps, and so on. So the first thing to note is whenever you're using an auto analysis tool, auto fib, auto trends, heat maps, if you want the most up-to-date analysis, you have to update the auto analysis tool. Something to keep in mind. But yeah, that's how it works. And then you can right click, go to properties, and you can change things about the sequence, change the levels. If you want to change the levels, you can reverse it if you want. Sometimes price continues in the same direction as the move that it measured. So if that's the case, then you would want to reverse it so that it's going in the same direction to get the extensions. You can do that by clicking on the reverse button. But by default, it's going to measure in the opposite direction of the move. Or it's going to extend the fib sequence in the opposite direction of the move. Yeah, Williams Fractal. I don't ever use Williams Fractal. The thing about it is the signal comes late, right? The signal doesn't come for like 3 sessions, I think. Britsu, maybe you can confirm that for me. So that's where things get a little tricky. We're at 153 right now. I'm going to go back to the indices here and just see kind of where we're at. SPY having a little bit of trouble, but made a new high like a minute ago, or just a couple of minutes ago, 5 minutes ago. Made a high a day. They're just riding today's anchored VWAP from the high, or have been. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not super educated on the Williams Fractal, so I cannot speak to it, how to use it. Maybe I'll do like a research on it, a research paper or something. $2+ billion to the buy side. SPY selling off a little bit here. What QQQ doing? Ooh. There's a little interesting liquidity spot, potentially. It's a low time frame, but it is the low that brought you up. Williams Fractal envelope. Got it. So Britsu, what are we looking at here, my man? Actually, let's do this. I'm not afraid to admit that I don't know exactly what this indicator does. We're learning together. So, help to see levels on smaller time frames. Interesting. Interesting. I need to read up on how this thing measures. What could be a little bit tricky about indicators that look like this is like, I guess in theory, you're looking for price to come back to like here, right? But when you make that new high and then you fail, it moves it up. And so it can become a little bit hard to read. But I believe that's the idea here, right, Britsu? Currently, we're holding this one. So this one's a 5-period moving average. So it's like every time a new... So if we gain... What does it look like to me? It's all about gaining and losing highs, huh? Or gaining highs or losing lows. So it's like if you make a new low within 5 candles against a previous low, it's going to remeasure the low for you, right? So you made a low here against this one, so it moved it down. Well, no, it was never here. You just didn't make a new low until this candle came in. So you make a new low, so it measures, it gives you a new point, and then you make a new low here, and so it gives you a new point. Is that right? And then it counts 5. So if you don't make a new low, it doesn't move it. But if you make a... Yeah, this is very similar to range. Yeah, Mike, you can already see them, but sometimes it's difficult. Like, for example, how come we didn't get a new one like right here? A new lower high one right here. It's because we made a new high relative to this. I don't understand why we didn't get a new print right here. It becomes especially more difficult to see levels if you're jumping from time frame to time frame, which you really need to do to know what the heck's going on across different time frames. But still, doesn't make things any easier. Train the brain. You got to train the brain. I need to read up on this. So we got half an hour left, guys. What do we want to do for the next half hour? I guess we could watch Walmart, huh? Let's go to Walmart. I'm going to take this guy off here and just see where we're at. Do we know what time they report today? Let's have a dance party. I mean, that would be something we could do. I think the viewer count might decrease. Not much of a dancer. I have to admit. Tried, but it ain't my thing. Any other people new to the platform that are here that have any questions about the platform that I can help with? That's funny. Well, you've been doing this a lot longer than us, Mike. Let's keep that in mind. You got some years on us. This is like week 4. While we're waiting here, I'm going to pop over to my watch list and see what's going on. Apron with a huge day today. I don't know if anybody was paying attention. Big day. On Apron. Curve, also pretty interesting. Been hearing a lot about this name past couple of days. What's up with the cryptos? Oh, that's not what I was wanting to look at. ETH. I know you don't look at these, but I'm looking at them anyway. And kind of a perfect spot to be failing, huh? So this, then is this a failure to gain here, Mike? Is that what you call this? Even though we did technically make a new high. Oh man, sell H. This is interesting. Me and my buddy Andrew were talking about this from Pristine. We were talking about this morning. I should have held on to these. I had some puts at about 108 that I was kind of a little scared to hold because the market was strong. So that's not a failure to gain, Mike. ETH is not a failure to gain. Oh. Got it. It never gained. All right. So maybe that unlocks my question. It lost. That failure to lose on NAIL, N-A-I-L. It lost and then it regained. So that's why it's a failure to lose. Interesting. TLT. So this is a failure to lose. Or no, failure to gain. Yes? Because you gained here, and then you failed. Is that right? Mike, is this a failure to gain? On TLT? It hasn't lost yet. It lost right here. Did it not? Is this not the loss right here? Has to lose the swing that made the high. So here, because on the weekly it just looks like nothing, like a liquidity thing. See, this is where I get a little stumped then. Because to me, we tested, we held, we even tested again and held. So then I would move it up. And then we tested and held. And then we're holding. Yeah, so Britzy, that's my question. 18th of July. We're holding right there. So this is not a failure to gain because we have not lost this. Right? Is that right? We held this. This is not yet a failure to gain. It's a little tricky, a little confusing. Going back to Walmart. What's Walmart doing? Has it done anything? No, it hasn't. Yes, Mike, that makes total sense to me. That makes total sense to me. But it doesn't make total sense to me how that isn't a failure to gain. Because to me, it gained. Let's go back to TLT. This was your high, right? There. We gained it. And then we lost it. So failure to gain. So what you're saying, Mike, is if we were to fail here, meaning price trades below, then when it comes back, you expect it to fail here and then go lower, is what you're saying. The other way that you could look at this, though, just like how you're looking for this to be lost, you could say that this low was here, right? And then you'd be looking at, yeah, sorry, these are going to look terrible, but whatever. And then you're looking at something like this. And then the expectation would be higher. Right? UPST. What do I got going on here? UPST coming right into the anchored VWAC from the that initial pullback low, huh? So your initial spot that you really need to get up and over is this guy. And we're failing right there. Since we're just talking price action today. Big volume profile gap. Well, yeah, for sure there is right here. 100% because the thing just tanked. And there was no price action there before, or there was very little in there before. First thing you need, Madukar, before anything is you need to make a new high. Which means you need to get up and over this stuff here. It's like 35 bucks. No up and over 35 bucks? No bueno. What's earnings like here on this? Okay, it already had them. I would think that if you made a move above 35, your next area would be here, 41. Oh no, they're back. The bots, the sex bots. Sorry guys. It's really annoying. Yeah. Up and over 35. Then you start looking for 41. You got a ways to go to that volume gap, my man. I wouldn't even be thinking about it right now because it's really far away. $41, then 52 or so. If we go to a smaller TF. I mean, it definitely is looking like it might want to break. It keeps holding higher lows, doesn't it? There is maybe some untested stuff. I mean, there is quite a bit untested. But it may not need to. All right, Mike, have a good one. I'll drop by your room here in a little bit because I still need to understand this better. But yeah, Chewy, or I'm sorry, Madukar, I would wait because right now it's looking like it's trying to fail. So I would let it get above that 35 area and then come back for a retest and buy the hold on the retest and look for 41 or 38 even. On a smaller time frame, you got a spot at 38 or so, kind of in here, and then kind of here, 40. That's my opinion. I don't love that it's... You've kind of got some RSI divergence. You made a new high, and you definitely did not on RSI. So that's a little something to be mindful of. It's just on the 2-hour time frame. It may not matter that much. ARKK. ARKK at the exact same spot. Needs to get up and over. And then that 66 level is the next kind of level. I guess your anchored VWAP, let's do this. Remove this one and go from the highs. Yeah. So this could take some time too, but I would say up and over this old high. Let me see if there's anything in here. VLO, what's up? John Dean? Valero? Doesn't look all that bad to me. This pattern on the daily, I've seen this a lot in my time. Sometimes it plays real nice and sometimes it does not. Do they have earnings coming up soon? Nope. So these guys are what, gas? Like fuel? Oil? What do some of the leaders look like? Oxy. XOM. MRO. Yeah, MRO looks kind of similar. I mean, this doesn't look super great. I mean, I see VLO, largest refinery in the U.S. Well, I mean, clearly there's work to be done, right? Like they just dumped this thing. And I mean, ultimately it did hold the big swing low right here. Yeah, I suppose it just depends on your risk appetite. You know, I mean, ultimately you'd love to see them come back and test some of this stuff. Because there, it looks gappy, but are there really gaps? Yeah, I mean, there's a gap here at 125. They kind of filled that one. What does the monthly look like here? Huge divergence on the monthly, huh? Man, I'm just being really loose with it, but it's not really what you want to see. Kind of saw it way back in the day as well. Wasn't as strong, but definitely was a thing. Here. Shoot, hold up. Yeah, I don't know. This one's tricky. I don't know enough about oil to have an opinion about where I think oil is going to go. For now, they're kind of holding it where they need to, I think. But I'm not a huge fan of this look. see what they do. See if they can make a new high above like 116, 117 or something. See if they can gain some of this stuff. I mean, it's a really nice accumulation pattern here. This is something that I like to look for a lot on the when I'm trading. It's like falling wedge thing. Notice how each new low you got higher highs on RSI. So you had nice divergence on RSI too. We gained, we came back and test, and a nice hold. I mean, it doesn't look bad, but I would be nervous below like 103, between like 103 and 105. If you start trading below that, I would start getting pretty. I would probably not be in a long position. Would be my thinking on it, John. I don't know if that's very helpful, but you really need up and over this anchored VWAP too. I mean, you got a bunch of trap people here for now. Yeah, so see if they can gain 115, 117, 117 and a half or something like that. If they can gain, come back, look for a long on a retest. Yeah, man, no problem at all. Lift. Ooh. Did they have earnings? Was it earnings on the gap up? Ooh. That's interesting. Definitely. You really need up and over 22 though. No point in being long here yet, in my opinion. The earnings move has happened, so now it's consolidating out. It definitely could come to the upside. Like this could be like a, what do they call this? This is earnings, what do they call it? Peg? A power earnings gap. It's kind of what you have here. But you know, you're trading so close to that 22. I mean, yeah, you could definitely trade it here, I think, with a pretty tight stop and up to 22. You do have some gaps below to be mindful of. Might just draw it from the first gap. Yeah. Actually, let's see what this looks like too. Me personally, what I would kind of wait for, or what I would try to wait for, is I would wait for a move above and then a pullback in, and then look for a move. Start filling that gap. That's what I'm thinking, Harshith. Thanks for being here, by the way. Brocco. What's up, Brocco? mRNA. mRNA in an interesting spot. They held the gap low. That's interesting. And they made a new high. So there's that. You're in good VWAP from this December 6th or so high. No, late November high. Right up into it. This doesn't look bad to me though. I kind of like it. I like that they held the gap low. Actually made a new relative high for this whole consolidation phase pretty much through almost all of January. I think the next spot would be like 211, somewhere in here. That's where I'd be looking for a move back to. And then I would be watching this low. And I don't know what your risk profile is or how risky you want to get with it, but like this low in here, right there, July 28th, you would want to see that you'd want to see them hold that if they came back to it. They haven't. They sort of did. There is, though, you know, 166 could be a level. Like they could come in and take all of these people out. I don't know if they need to. I don't know what they've got coming up. If there's any earnings, no earnings. Earnings are done. Yeah, this is kind of nice to me. I like the look of this. I'd be looking to play it up to about 205 to 210, somewhere in that neighborhood. Yeah, Arshith, no problem at all. I'm just one guy, just one man's opinion, you know? So take it for what it is. Snap, Chewy. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know, man. Snap's getting eaten alive by TikTok. So a first target for me would be 13, 15. See what it does when it gets there. Pretty bearish on Snap overall, personally, but, you know, is this just like a dead cat bounce sort of thing? I don't know if this would actually have, like, honest to goodness legs. The better bulk of this move, I would guess the better bulk of this move is almost done. But I'd be looking more for a short. Oh, interesting. Anchored VWAP from the gap down. Look where we are today. Something to think about. ERJ. I don't know if it's really at resistance. Well, so this is like a South American name. It's certainly made a big move, hasn't it? $2. It's like 20% in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 sessions. Pretty big move. I mean, to me, I kind of think you have room though to go a little higher, maybe into here. 1288, like a buck. Another buck. It's kind of where I'd be looking for a potential short if I were going to do it. Doesn't mean it'll get there, but that's probably where I'd be looking. What's up, Jose Antonio Apaza? Bienvenidos a Miami. Well, bienvenidos a Colorado. Oh, Joe, you said there's a two. I mean, you know, the 200 is the 200. Let's go back to this. Yeah, look at the two. I mean, the 200 almost lines up with my little 1288 level. That's where I'd be looking. See what it does when it gets there. I probably anticipate a failure. Pins. Let's look at pins real quick. At an interesting spot. Do people use Pinterest still? I don't know. Did they have earnings on that gap up? Yeah, they did. So that's also a peg. Power earnings gap. So if this were to make a new high, I mean, it's hard to trade it here because you're testing highs. So this would be a potential failure spot. But if it can get above it, then you might expect somewhere in here, 26.5. I don't know. Better stocks to trade, in my opinion, if you're bullish. But, you know, it doesn't mean this thing can't, you know, come off of these lows and gain another 200% over the next 2 years. I don't know. It's a pretty ugly little downtrend. Maybe this is the time to buy it. Hard to say. I don't pay attention too much to this company. With a company like this, I would be inclined to think a little bit fundamentally about it. Are people using it? How are they making money? These sorts of things. And I just don't know too much about Pinterest. UPST, we talked about UPST. Did they have earnings today? Did we miss it? No. We talked about it. UPST needs to gain. Kind of the same. I mean, a lot of these are kind of the same idea. They're coming up into previous highs. So hard to buy into old highs. But if they start gaining, then we could start making expectations for coming up into further highs. VLTA. It's storming out here. Interesting. What is this? Volta? Never heard of Volta. What does Volta do? Oh, haven't been around very long. On any names like this, I'm always going to anchor a VWAP to the IPO. Yeah, next spot for me would be like 380. Kind of in here. That's where I'd be kind of looking to do some trimming if you are if you're long already. If you're not long already, actually here's a spot too, somewhere in here, like this, 329. A little bit of divergence showing up on RSI. You made a new high, but RSI has not, so that keep an eye on that. You might get a pullback. You could, not necessarily, but you could. If you got a pullback, I'd be looking at this 190 area in here. Or even 217. 190 to 217, somewhere in here for a pullback. Kind of where my head would be at on it. PLD, and then I'm going to get out of here. PLD at an interesting spot. Right into these lows. Would definitely anticipate a reaction there. We were talking about what's it called, Valero earlier. This isn't the same look, but it's kind of similar, kind of off the highs, and then you start forming a base. And I think on Valero, remember Valero was still trading below its anchored VWAP from those highs. So kind of with that name, kind of looking for something like this. Gain, come back and test and hold, and then you gain again. I'd be pretty nervous about this above, or you know, right here. Essentially, I would imagine you definitely have some profit takers into these old lows, because this is a low that you would have definitely wanted price to have held to keep us moving higher. They did make a new high, but then they kind of failed this. So I would anticipate a reaction somewhere here, and it may not be perfect, but I would anticipate a reaction. So see what price does kind of into that 140 area. Seems like it's going to find its way there any day now, tomorrow, the next day. So I'd be watching that. And SPY. Yeah. SPY in an important spot. I mean, we've been saying that a lot lately. Keeps coming into important spots, but there are a lot of them. So the next area that I'm kind of keeping an eye on is this red box. We do have the 200 SMA right here at 432. You know traders are going to be keeping their eye on it, but just because traders are watching it does not necessarily mean it's going to come into play. If we look back, there are times when the 200 works real nice, and there are times when it does not matter at all. So all we can do is know that it's there, be thinking about it. But yeah, the areas I'm kind of watching are just anywhere between 435 up to 440 or so. 435 to 444. Those are spots that are interesting for me. I mean, this is interesting too. Kind of this area where we've kind of failed today. But, you know, and maybe we go sideways for a little while. It's possible. Kind of like we did here. We had this area of distribution. We came into it and we had to go sideways for a bit before we could get above it. But just how this, I'm loosely anticipating the same sort of scenario. Maybe not sideways, but just gain. You know, this was distribution before, now we're coming up into it. Maybe we need to go sideways to gain it, or maybe we can just gain it. As I mentioned earlier in the stream, we look for those same sorts of places on the other indices, and they're right here. You know, this is that distribution area on IWM, and we just went right through it on the Qs as well. Pretty similar. You know, haven't had too much trouble through that area. So I would anticipate SPY do the same. The Q's coming into a spot soon. You got your 200 day at 342 or so. You've got an important loss level kind of around 337 to 340. So this Q's over the next couple of days, if it keeps gaining, we might see some action. So yeah, that's it, y'all. That's it. That's all I got. That's everything for me today. I have an update for everybody. Let me see. Sadie, if you're around. Who do we got? Who do we got this week for all of our live stuff? Sadie's going to tell me. Okay, so this week we're not doing a live. Cool. Okay, so this week we're not doing a live charting show on Thursdays or on Thursday. But we are still doing the Trade Ideas show tomorrow night on Twitter. That's going to feature Braxy, Crypto Thies, OG Trades and Pat Trades. We got a bunch of traders giving us their trade ideas tomorrow night on Twitter, 8 p.m. Eastern. I will be back on Wednesday here on YouTube doing the same time, 2:30 to 4:30 Eastern. And again, yeah, we're not going to be doing the live charting show this week, but we will have one next week. And we'll be back with that. So I hope you guys are all doing great. I hope that you guys traded them well today. I hope you traded better than I traded today, because I didn't trade good today. I traded really bad. But, you know, if you traded bad like me today, we're going to get them tomorrow. It's all good. It's going to be okay. Have a great rest of your evening. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. There are a bunch of new names tonight. A bunch of people I do not recognize. Jose Antonio. I've never seen you here before. Thank you for being here. Mark. I don't think I've seen you here. Carl. Who else? Harshith. I haven't seen you guys here before. John, you maybe are familiar. I can't recall. But anyway, if you're new here, I really appreciate you being here. There are some of you guys who show up all the time. Britsu. Shout out Britsu. You're here every day, almost. So yeah, we really appreciate you guys being here. Hope you guys have a great rest of your trading week. Join us tomorrow night on Twitter. Again, 8 p.m. Eastern. For some trade ideas, and then come hang out with me again on Wednesday, 2:30 Eastern, to do this. We'll talk shop and we'll talk about what's going on. All right, have a great rest of your evening, everybody, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon. See ya.